so much for being a part of the SACC Leadership Summit. My name is Jasminder Kaur and I'm honored to be your host for the evening. After quite a bit of hard work and few sleepless nights, we are very happy to present you with a pleasant presentation this evening. But before we dive into the core agenda for the evening, I'd like to know from the audience out there if you know what SACC is or what it stands about. Anyone out here? Oh, okay.
Oh, you want me to answer, right?
I know you're saying, okay, I know, I can say that.
It's about networking within the Sikh community.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Is it Sports Authority of China or South Asian Cricket Club? How about that?
So I came to industry to work for a healthcare consulting company, worked for them for about 5 years. After I had actually grown to be a director and head of the group, I decided I wanted to start my own business. So I decided to start a business with my brother, and that's how I started my first company, MarketRx, in 2000.
When I was working as an IT director, I started exploring business opportunities, and I started doing consulting work. And when I found a couple of clients where they wanted my services, and when I was able to compensate my full-time salary with those consulting work, that's when I started full-time as an entrepreneur.
I believe success begins with a state of mind. I have a lot of faith in myself, and I've always had a desire to be above average, to do better than the rest. That drive, that motivation is extremely important, and I don't give up easily.
I believe in being honest with myself and those around me, whether that's to do with my professional life or personal. I'm self-critical. If there's something that I believe that I could be doing better, I take a look back at almost everything it is that I do.
Nothing is given to you. You can't expect things to be handed to you on a silver platter. It's the people that I meet day to day. I always say, I am a different person now than I ever was before. Having IT by Design and building my business has shaped the individual that I to get the funds needed to start your business. You've got to, everything is like a hand, a fist. They're all interconnected. Luck, one, talent. And so if you unite all four together and you understand that
All our members, we make ourselves easily accessible. If anyone has any questions about a certain professional career or how should they go about it, a lot of times people have a certain talent, these individuals, and show
are educated as a helping hand in making sure that their children steer in that direction. And it's giving those parents who may not be as educated or are first generation migrants who are coming here, that helping hand to guide their children in the right direction.
ਬੱਚੇ ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਲੈਣ। ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ। ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੋਈ ਖੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦਾ, ਕੋਈ ਚੋਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ। ਇਹ ਹਰ ਕਾਰਨਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ।
I believe in the power of network. I believe in the power of community. I believe the combination of two can help me become more
People who
successful.
come to our events, we educate them, how to go about funding and what to
ਆਪਣੇ ਆਈਡੀ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਜੌਬ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੋਵੇ। ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸਮੈਨ ਕੰਪਨੀਆਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਇਸ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਤੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਰਸਤਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਬਣ ਸਕਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ। ਬਹੁਤਾ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਬੱਚੇ ਬੜੇ ਲਾਇਕ ਹੁੰਦੇ।
Just each other. I was able to get their first-hand feedback and things like that.
Last year, I visited New Jersey for the SACC gathering, where I met wonderful, inspiring, like-minded people. SACC introduced me to Mr. Sunit Singh Puri, who has ever since advised us and mentored us.
As individuals, we are very successful. We have Sikh doctors, we have Sikh engineers, entrepreneurs, businessmen who have been very, very successful and renowned. But as a community, I feel that we have Chamber of Commerce is helping harness the energy.
If you don't know what it is in this institution.
I want to leave a footprint. I want to leave not just my own personal footprint. Are you leaving it in sand that will be washed away when you are gone?
That's quite a bit, and I'm sure all of you out here now have a lot better understanding of what SACC American Chamber of Commerce stands about. So I know we are already running late, but I'd quickly like to summarize what we just heard, that SACC actually works diligently to foster support for our community through commerce-based initiatives, be it Partner Connect, Mentor Connect, Capital Connect, or even Family Connect. So yes, connect is the word, and that's how we are connected with the community. So I have a small presentation here which just quickly runs you through what our journey has been so far this year, some events that we did, so that you know what we've been doing this year. So we started this year with SACC Job Fair and Mentor Connect in January. Provided more than 40 job opportunities to job seekers, and we also launched our Mentor Connect product or service through this platform, where the participants got one-on-one personal interaction with highly successful mentors who not only guided them and provided career guidance, but also inspired them to achieve their goals. Moving ahead, we had an amazingly successful annual gala in March, where we had more than 300 folks attending and benefiting out of it, and some of the speakers out there you can see in front. Then we hosted a summer picnic on August 8th in New Jersey, because at SACC we feel networking doesn't have to be professional always. There's a lot of value in social networking as well. And a lot of community folks participated with their families, and it was a fun-filled day. Moving ahead, we had a SACC Youth Connect, where we invited one of the epitome of inspiration, Milka Singh Ji, to connect with the community members, and approximately 10 days back. So now you know why I was running today, because I hardly had any time. But we hosted a charter member rendezvous, which was an exclusive event for our charter members. It was a private charter cruise hosted for successful entrepreneurs and professionals. And now we are here, our SACC Leadership Summit. The goal is to, for all of you to meet, network, and find yourself some mentors if you want, and learn from the success stories. So I'd just quickly like to brief you with 2 more events that we are coming up next year. One is again the Job Fair and Mentor Connect that we did. So we're really looking forward for more participation this time towards, more, if you guys are hiring, why not hire people from your own community, right? I'm sure that will help. So if you're interested in participating in any ways, be it a participant or an employer, feel free to reach out to me anytime. And then we have our SACC 5th Annual Gala, which is scheduled for March next year. And we have some prospective speakers whom we're trying to loop in. So if you have, why I'm sharing all this for you is so that if you guys have any suggestions in sort of participation or sponsorships or anything you'd like to be a part of, feel free to give a shout to any of the SACC representatives out here. Before I get started with my core agenda for the day, that's the SACC Leadership Summit. Let me tell you what it is about. We are here to celebrate the success of 4 of our highly accomplished and successful business leaders, Mr. Sunit Singh Tulli, Vip Jaswal, Ravi Arora, and Jasveer Gill. And I'm sure you're waiting for me to give the mic to them and you want to know more for them. We're just getting the stage set, so I'll come there. And to present you with the same, I would like to invite my partner in crime, a very, very dear friend and supporter of SACC, Vip Jaswal. Vip Jaswal is the head of International Affairs at Fox News Channel and also hosts the top-rated radio show called the Vip Jaswal Report on Fox News Radio every Sunday. Vip, do share the details with us for the radio show. Everybody's surely love to hear you. And I think he doesn't need any more introduction. So I'd like, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Vip Jaswal.
And we've got to give Jasminder a hand. I've been bugging her all this time, trying to see what's going on and things like that. She's been working very hard. She's got a lovely 2-year-old. She's been looking after, but she still keeps smiling. So everyone. Well, thank you for the introduction. It's a large introduction for a very little guy. So even with you guys sitting, I just about reach eye level. I've been asked today to moderate a panel on leadership from 3 highly qualified individuals. It is 3, right? And my job is to make sure that we get a deep insight into what it takes to be a leader and remain one. And if by the end of the session you guys feel that you haven't learned anything, I've told each of the 3 panelists to buy each one of you a drink. Is that fair? Good, good. So let's get this beauty contest started. Mr. Ravi Arora, he's a professional in every sense of the word, a senior vice president and a group head at MasterCard. Ravi is a true professional leader. He leads a series of diverse initiatives to over 200 key stakeholders on the benefits of electronic payments, emerging technology, fraud, and risk. Ravi, my wife has a MasterCard. And when I look at her monthly bill, it definitely looks like fraud. And you know what she says to me? She goes, a successful man is one who can earn more than his wife can spend. That's not me. And Ravi is the recipient of the outstanding 50 Asian Americans in Business for 2015 that was awarded by the Asian American Business Development Center. Give it up to our first beauty, Mr. Ravi Arora. Come on up. Our second beauty is Mr. Jasmeer Gill. He's the founder and CEO of Alert Enterprise and has more than 20 years of experience in security, compliance, and access management. I'm not in IT, but this is all complicated to me. Prior to Alert Enterprise, Jasmeer was the founder and CEO of application security company Versa Systems, which was acquired by SAP for a hell of a lot of money. Ashley Madison, that famously notorious dating website, was recently hacked. So was the IRS. Obviously, they didn't use Jasmeer's application. Where's Jasmeer? Oh, hello, son. Give it up, please. My next beauty is Sunit Singh Tuli. He's the founder and CEO of DataWind, a leader in low-cost internet connectivity for emerging markets. He's got 24 years of experience as a serial entrepreneur, with DataWind's IPO representing the 3rd IPO of his career. Sunit and his company have been recognized by Forbes magazine, the Intelligent Community, York University School of Engineering, and the MIT Technology Review, to name a few. I refuse to invite him home for dinner because he's going to make me look like a complete failure in front of my wife. And you know women. Welcome, Sunit. Well, this session's about leadership, so we're really going to get into it. It's going to be a lot of questions, so guys, keep your answers to about a minute max. So let's get this party started. First of all, Mr. Tuli, who inspires you?
So my response is going to come across sort of corny, but I've been on a bit of a religious journey for the last 15, 20 years, and the Gurus inspire me. It was interesting, a few years ago, somebody gave me the Sun Tzu's Art of War and said, that's a business book you should be reading. And I gave him a translation of Barney, and I said, hey, this is the book you should be reading. So I think the life history of the Gurus and sort of the execution and the experiences has been a big inspiration for me and continues to be.
Just right.
For me, I was raised in a small village, and I came from a very humble background. My school didn't even have a boundary wall. So I was very inspired with my family, my grandfather, because they worked through very harsh times and were always able to figure out some way to be successful. So I thought that was a very good approach, and that's what I thought. So my inspiration is mostly my grandfather, who was a farmer, was a very successful farmer.
Ravi?
Thank you. My lovely wife is right here. Yeah, so I think
characteristic that you believe every leader should possess? The one.
It's tough to define to one, right?
So I didn't bring you here because it was easy.
And then you're going to give me a minute or less, right? You got. That's one.
You're a leader, so what is the one characteristic that you have maintained all along your journey?
I think the ability to sort of stand up to adversity. I think the ability to not cower away from the challenges that you face is critical. You don't always win, but being out there, willing to fight the fight, I think is, at least from my perspective, the core requirement.
So I believe you only fail when you actually give up.
Yeah, as long as you continue to strive, yeah.
Just read one characteristic that you possess as a leader.
It's hard to pick one, but I think that imagination, powerful imagination, to be able to visualize whatever you're doing, how it will impact, the positive impact you can have on the society. I feel that's a very key trait to be successful.
Thank you, Ravi.
But I would say, from a character is all about the values that guide you. So what you are to your inner core and how that guides you as a leader. So kind of like, you talk about your true north. What is your really true north that guides you? What's your moral compass? So that's what to me is very important.
What do you do? Because leaders are always learning, they have to learn. What do you do to continue growing and developing? You.
Back to me. To continue to grow, really, taking on new challenges, continuing to diversify how we look at our operations. My education was in civil engineering. And I've taken, and I've been lucky to have taken multiple companies, public, that are in the electronics business, and in very diverse kinds of fields, from fax machines in the days prior to the internet to scanning imaging devices, and now an internet-based company. And I think that as long as you are active, facing new challenges, you continue to grow.
But you're in a very fast evolving industry. So it's great to reevaluate what you're doing inside. But how do you get your knowledge from the outside?
Well, with us, the markets we focus on really are ignored markets to a great degree. So we're not trying to create breakthroughs in the traditional sense of it. Our breakthrough is in creating inclusiveness. So markets we're operating in and the solutions we're implementing to them are solutions that those of us in this room take for granted. Right? We work with an NGO, for example, in Afghanistan that smuggles devices into people's homes and teaches mothers that have never stepped into a classroom how to deliver education using technology, because those parents are afraid to send their daughters to school. So when we get into these markets, trying to implement solutions that all of us take for granted, our horizons open up from a very different kind of perspective.
So your knowledge is based on other people's ignorance?
Well, markets that really are being unaddressed. I mean, we end up in a variety of these places. We've seen a lot of press coverage over the last few days about the Syrian refugees, and another NGO that we've been working with for about 3 or 4 years has been supplying pamphlets into refugee camps in that environment. And the experience and the understanding of how these people are living and how they're surviving, opens up horizons. And a few years ago, I coined a term I use often. In India, I refer to it as a forgotten billion. There's 200-300 million people at the top, and then there's a billion that just don't get addressed. They're not part of the media, they're not part of the political class, they're not part of the organized workforce, and don't have access to all the basic amenities that that we take for granted, and you know, just trying to deliver solutions to them is a great learning experience.
Thank you. Jasmeet, how do you keep yourself educated?
So I think one of the things I feel you can learn a lot from, depending on what industry you're in, from your customers. So we always feel whatever we do, the greatest software technology, but there's so much you learn from your customers, from your partners, the things that you have never thought about, but that feedback can be a great way to grow your company, your software, your technology.
Robin?
I think, like for me, I've been with MasterCard a long time now, roughly about 18 years. So one can get stale or stop learning very quickly if you kind of stay too long in the role. So it's important, like for me, it has been to take risks into uncharted territory. So how I keep educated, because that then forces me to learn kind of new aspects of the business that I had no clue about, initially. So this kind of keeps me fresh. This kind of keeps me
So are you
ready.
a corporate entrepreneur? You've been what, with MasterCard for 18 years?
Yeah.
How did you manage not getting laid off?
It's a fabulous company, I must say.
That's because they
a
haven't
company.
fired you.
We really believe in doing well by doing good, and that's at the core, right?
So that's the company philosophy.
Yeah,
You
that's my
as an
philosophy.
individual,
Yeah.
as an individual, as an employee, and as a highly valued employee, how do you keep yourself relevant?
By ensuring that I've always looked to take on challenges and deliver, and deliver in such a manner that the company has the confidence that.
So you actually have an entrepreneurial mindset within a professional capacity.
Sure, absolutely, you have to. Yeah.
So Imchi, how do you lead yourself? When you get up in the morning, in order to lead others, you have to lead yourself.
So a few years ago, when we started this current venture, I was very excited because the social good side of me and the business side of me merged. We take a couple of things public, we were doing well in life, things were going great. And we started this venture, and we developed the technology, we received a number of patents on it. And the technology applied really well to that bottom of the pyramid kind of environment. And that, to me, was godsend. To me, it was, hey, this is exactly what I want to be doing. After a while, we started getting little postcards from kids around the world that were using our products, or the Ugandan orphanage that decided they were going to implement this, or whatever NGOs we were working with, and so on. And I got a wall at my home.
You're in the IT business and you're getting a postcard.
I'm in the IT business. I'm getting postcards from 8-year-old girls about apps that they're creating in Uganda.
They didn't email you.
Some of them are emails. And so I print them out, and I take them, and I staple them, and I put them up on this wall, because that's great motivation. And then, in the business we're in, where we've worked with governments, and the Indian government, for example, it's not been an easy journey. Governments are not always the easiest organization to work with, and the Indian government is notorious in that regards. But having, what motivated us while we went through the ups and downs and the difficulties that came along with that was the fact that there was an overwhelming demand from this ignored segment of the market. And that continues to be. I discovered a few years ago.
So sort of feeding a market that you've identified, is that what motivates you?
I think impacting the market. Knowing that you're having a positive impact on people's lives is much more powerful than just meeting people's requirements.
Thank you.
That's a very good point. I totally agree. So our previous company, it's more than money. We made not money, but I think more than money was the emotional reward that you feel. Let's say if you are protecting your organization or from any potential threats, you feel that you made a difference.
But you know, every rich person or every successful person who's made money always says it's never about the money. Is that because they've already got it? No, that's true, isn't it?
So I'll give you one example. So a lot of people actually ask me that you sold the company for so much money, why are you still working? And I think, so I'll give you one example from my current company. So we had one of our customers is Department of Homeland Security, PSA. They use our software to arrest people who were engaged in drug smuggling from the airports. Without really, they were being bribed to smuggle what they thought were boxes of drugs without realizing the box could have anything. So that would be another 9/11 kind of event. So when we found that, they used our software to arrest people. So the head of TSA invited us to Washington DC, me and one of my colleagues, we were there. And the head of TSA was in tears. He's this tall guy, 6 feet 2 inches, football player. And he said, I'm so touched with what you have done for us. So when we came back, that's when we realized it's a lot more than money. And that meeting to me was a lot more meaningful than any other event.
Thank you. Well, in the professional world, what motivates you in the morning? What makes you get up and say, I'm glad to go to work? Not that because you have to, but...
So let me put it in the context of my current role.
Yes,
right?
please.
So because I was given this charge of expanding or kind of building out our community empowerment, community relations for my organization. Yeah? Something that I've never done before. I'm a finance guy, engineer, all that stuff, my background and training and all that. But it's a passion of mine, right? So it's a passion that keeps me driven for that, right? And why? Because like today when I look at what the difference that we as an organization or my company can make and we as individuals can make is that there are 2.5 billion people in the world who still lack access to basic financial services that we in this room take for granted, right? It is actually expensive to be poor because we find the best deals for not having to pay a dime to write out your checks or pay your bill. Those who lack those services are paying nearly 7% of what they make to even pay their bills. An average family pays nearly about 10% of their income on food. Now imagine that, you pay 10% of your income on food and nearly 7 to 8% to get access to your own money to pay bills and do things that matter in life, right? That should be the case. So it is those people out there that we know that how do we empower them? What are the solutions we can bring to them? What are the tools we take to them? How do we, it is connecting with partners, it is partnerships, it is connecting with different financial institutions, telcos, this, that. So my role is, I feel empowered that, there's such a difference that we can make out there in the world out there. That's what keeps me going. We haven't even scratched the surface.
So basically, new challenges.
Absolutely.
Keeps you okay. Let's talk about your business and your organization from a leadership perspective. And Ravi, what are the most important decisions you make as a leader of your unit? What are the most important decisions that you make as a leader of your unit?
Important, like for me personally, apart from the inroads to business and opportunities, right? I think that as a leader, the best thing you can do is empowerment. And empower your team, empower your people, so that way you have an opportunity as a leader. It's not about me and what I've done, it is collectively we can try. So it is what are the best avenues I can create for the team to be successful? What is the best avenue? The best thing is to really work yourself out of the job. That you created such a good infrastructure and good team that you are able to then, the people realize that it's a time for this individual to get to the next level.
So basically it's delegation.
Delegation.
I've tried that at home, it doesn't work. My wife says take the garbage out. I tell my son to take it out. She still gets upset even though the garbage is taken out. Just real.
I think for our business, I feel one of the most important things I have to do is to say no to a lot of things, to focus. See, in business, there's so many opportunities you come across, but you cannot be good at everything, so you have to pick few things where you can be really good at. So how do you determine where you want to focus and cut the noise? So signal to noise ratio is very, very important, and for leaders, because as a team, let's say if you are 200, 300 people, it's be a small company, so everybody gets excited about when you see an opportunity, but you cannot be good at everything. So you have to filter out the noise, and you have to say, okay, here are the big rocks that we're going to focus on. So I think that's the most interesting and the most difficult part of it.
For me, the role's changed over the last couple of years. A lot of my role used to be around execution. Over the last couple of years, it's been about setting a vision and then inspiring and trying to inspire people to follow that vision. We're now, less than 3 years, we've gone from about 40, 50 people to about 700 people. And I believe the very large majority of my team actually believes they're there because they're doing good for people. That it's the social good that they're trying to achieve. And if I can inspire them to be motivated in the same kind of manner that I am, then I found that I get much greater results. Then it's not a 9-to-5 situation with them. It's been interesting. It's been a great opportunity, not only within my organization, it's been a great opportunity for me to evangelize this globally with world leaders in the conference. It's a big portion, and I think for me at least, an important portion of what I do is evangelize and try to inspire both my team and
you work for a big institution, a big organization. So how, as the organization gets larger, right, there can be a tendency for the institution to dampen the so-called inspiration, the whole core value, the message of what, say, MasterCard's trying to do. How do you prevent this from happening?
Keep the team challenged by, by pushing people out of their comfort zone. Because there is, to get the max potential out of an individual, you kind of peak at certain comfort zones, but if you continue to challenge the team, because that leads to new learning opportunities, because just like every individual, they don't want to get stale at what they're learning, so providing rotational opportunities, providing opportunities for in other, the best thing I can do always is reach out to other colleagues in other divisions and groups, and knowing that exporting talent to other groups, and likewise importing talent from other groups, because that brings fresh perspective, right? Because diversity of thought is very important. One of the things that we firmly believe in, or in fact my CEO always says, is that the worst thing you can do is hire people that look like you, think like you, talk like you, because then there's no diversity. Yeah? Because then you are in a groupthink mode, so you're not going to be able to make good decisions. How are you going to get new, fresh perspective? So the idea is to continue to rotate, move, so that you continue to get that diversity of thought. And for that, you've got to export talent, import talent.
But playing devil's advocate, and I am the devil. In a corporation, if something is working and you have the best people around you, and you're getting the results, why would you want to then sort of deflower the whole setup?
Because over time, you have to ask, that we are in an ever-changing world today. Now, like I look at my own organization, millennials made up nearly 70% of our employee population maybe 5 years ago. Today they are nearly 33% of our employee base. Because times are changing. We're talking about, he talks about the physical to logical convergence. We're talking about, the plastic is not relevant in our business, right? It's a medium. It's going digital, there's a whole convergence going on. You need new technology. You need people with new set of skills. So I think as the business evolves and changes, I don't think any business can be in a position that you can say, oh yeah, this person and they're good at, you want to get challenge people and move them.
My son was in my previous company, he was just 5-6 years old and we had just learned PowerPoint. So one day I was tired of building my PowerPoint, it was like Sunday evening, so I just gave it to him. I wanted to have a cup of tea, relax. I said, hey, can you look at my PowerPoint and tell me what do you think? He said, Dad, to be honest with you, your PowerPoint sucks. I said, really? What's wrong with it? He said, there's no animation, there's no light, it's too boring, too many words. But later on I learned that he was right. So I think there are a lot of things you can learn from the new generation because they're grown up in the new social media, the new environment. So we, the same thing, I think what we do as a company, although we are very successful, but we always push the limit. We always want to do better than what we have done before. I think that's the best way to inspire yourself and inspire your team. And be a role model. Let's say if you want your team to act in a way, you have to do those things yourself. You want to preach what you practice. Actually, you have to practice before you preach. So I think those things you said very well.
Thank you. So, to reconfirm, I think your question was, how do we get the
As
message
your organization
across?
gets larger,
With
a lot of the core message gets lost in the daily noise.
So,
how do you keep that refreshed?
Yeah. So part of what we started was, again, we looked at best practices in similar companies and what they were doing. So what we did with our team was we allocated a certain amount of product that they could donate, and allowed 10% of time that they could use for charity. So somebody could turn around and say, I'm not going to show up for one day every 2 weeks because I'm going to go work in food bank. And allocating that our employees could decide that they were going to use for their rural school or they were going to use for some other charity that they were involved with. I think that we continue to sort of push that idea that you're not just so getting them involved in that vision is very important for us.
So you're a very fast-growing company, right? You get new employees all the time. How do you communicate the culture of the company?
It's interesting. It used to be when we were 50 people, you know everybody by name, you know everybody by face. We do an annual picnic and you get to know everybody's families. That was it. And now we start doing town halls. We end up doing sort of banquet hall type get-togethers and do a half-day session in each of our core offices, just so that we're on the same level. For a very small organization, a couple of years ago, we couldn't think of creating an internal newsletter. Now we have a full-time person that does nothing but create an internal newsletter to get the message across. But to have this interaction when it's gone to a level where I don't know most of the majority's names, or certainly don't know the majority's family members, and so on and so on. To be able to get the message sort of from the horse's mouth, I think is important. More than just saying, hey, go watch YouTube videos of this guy and see what we stand for. This is our mission, vision, what our values are that the HR department gives them. But being able to do these town halls has been very important. And in India, it's very interesting. People don't speak up beyond that hierarchy. So if you're a supervisor sitting here in that room, they're going to expect the supervisor to ask the question, the rest of them won't. So I've discovered that when we do these town halls, getting certain people to leave to have an open discussion becomes part of the process.
Thank you. Disri?
So I think you said it very well, so I think that. I think one of the things we have found that works very well is to identify the people who have the star performance, who have been really giving the value that you want, the values of the company, or the behavior that you really feel is the exemplary behavior for everybody else. So identifying that with the talent helps a lot. That's a message. It's a subtle way to tell everyone that this is how we feel, our senior staff. start performing.
In every corporate world, it's normally we have goals and measures, right? And then we have an annual review. So is that what happens at MasterCard? I mean, you have new employees, how do you communicate the culture?
I think it is, as both Sunit and Jasdeep already said, I think that all the reviews are okay, fine, that's it. But that doesn't allow you to communicate the culture. Culture is what you live and breathe on a daily basis, right? It is how the management team is acting, how every employee is, so are you aligned with the goals and of the vision and mission of the organization? And if the management team is espousing, those kind of values and living those values. So I think that, and I have seen, at least in our organization, very fortunate, to have a very dynamic, CEO and the leadership team that, I think every country that I have had the opportunity to go to and I meet with employees, I can say, categorically say everyone is galvanized, so like we have taken on as an organization, we know we want to empower 500 million new consumers, by 2020, right? So our actions speak for the, we share stories, success stories. Where are you making a difference? Like, it is about, empowering, a lady with no means in Nigeria, with means and access to, a street vendor in Brazil or so forth. The power of technology today. So the role that technology can play and how, so that is all part of the culture you live and breathe, and because then because it's not about just making money as an organization. It is really about doing good. That's what our organization fully believes in, and I think that's what is the culture that I find every employee have pretty much rooted towards, right?
Running out of time a little bit, so we're going to make this a quick one now. This is more about what you guys see around you as opposed to what you see in your organizations. What's the biggest challenge facing leaders today?
Biggest challenge facing leaders. I think generally people give up too easy. When I look at entrepreneurs that start, it's been interesting. I would have friends that would ask me, that I'd meet up after every couple of years or so, they'd say, "Oh, are you still doing that same thing?" Some of them very successful in the Valley, that over that same period of time would have gone through multiple ventures and so on. And today they tell you stories about, I had a WhatsApp app kind of solution, but I sold it for 30 million, or I had whatever, recognition that they persevered, maybe the return would have been significantly different. I think people don't take large enough risks, they don't take big challenges, they don't think big, as big as I wish that they would think. To group of people that are attending a SACC chamber event, not to come across as biased, but when I'm truly biased, I think it's a privilege to be part of the SACC family. And I think that we are intended, it's in our value to be ultra successful, to be impactful. And for that reason, I really wish that people would think big and just persevere through the adversity it takes to get there.
Just what's the biggest challenge facing leaders today that you see around you?
First of all, I feel the biggest challenge for us, like I was sharing earlier, that I think the key challenge is when you see a lot of opportunities, what will be our leader, what you want to do. So, and I see the other biggest challenge that I see, I think for everyone, is that everything around you is moving, it's a moving target. Things are changing so fast. How do you, whatever you are doing, how do you stay ahead of everybody else, and how do you always stay ahead? So you could be thinking about something that would be very interesting today, but a few months later that would become almost irrelevant because somebody has already done something very similar to that, or you find out later on. that no, I probably am doing something that there are 100 other companies doing. So if you're talking about technology, you have to pick something where you feel it's really disruptive, it's game changing, and no one else has really thought about it. So I feel that's one of the biggest challenges.
Thank you, Jaspreet. Ravi, in the corporate world, everyone's trying to get one over the other.
I think that both, already given, the relevant issues there. Because, as a leader, it is, whether you are running an organization, running a business unit, running a team, whatever it is an aspect of, staying relevant because of the change that's happening at such a rapid pace today. So, knowing, and seeing where the headwinds are, navigating, ensuring that you carry a team along, empower them. All of those are challenges that I think every leader is facing, that making sure that they stay relevant and be there tomorrow. There's so many businesses and well-known businesses that we all can probably talk about, which have thought they had a tremendous business model like 5-7 years ago and don't exist today.
To add to what, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but very good point. So one of the examples is disrupting yourself.
Yes.
So if you take the example of Kodak, Kodak was one of the Fortune 50 companies doing so well, everybody in the world was using Kodak film. And they were the first one who built the digital camera, but never brought it to the market because they felt, oh, it will commoditize another business, without realizing that if you don't do it, somebody else will do it to you. So today that company has gone bankrupt. Nobody even knows what Kodak stands for. So I think that's what happens to companies or leaders who are not staying ahead of the game. So you have to always be on your toes to be ahead of everything else. And also be passionate about what you do, of course.
Final question from me. If someone's going into leadership for the first time, what would you advise them?
So my, I get a great opportunity to mentor young entrepreneurs these days, and my big pitch to them always is think big. There's no shortage of people that are okay with mediocrity. And it is surprising the lack of people that want to go change the world. And so my big sort of pitch to anybody who's starting out as an entrepreneur and sort of in that leadership position of starting their business is think the outlandish, think the outrageous. I remember a couple years ago, some magazine did an article on us and they called it the race to the next billion. And my 5-6-year-old daughter at that time thought it was a real race, and every few months she'd keep asking me, so how we were doing against that race. And a few months later, when we hit our first 1 million units, I very proudly told her, I said, we've hit 1 million units. And she said, great, Dad, congratulations. So tell me the difference between that and, how close are you to that billion? And I needed to explain the difference between the two, and she was utterly disappointed. She says, you don't look like you're winning that race. And I said, no, we're making a difference. In 8 months, we've got 1 million units out there, and things are really, God's grace, going in the right direction and so on. But I think that thinking big and also being an outlandish kind of a goal is important to create leadership within the organization.
I love that.
You said it very well, thinking big. And also I think be passionate about what you are planning to do. So something that you do, you should really love what you want to do. Because if you don't do that, it becomes work, and very soon people get bored. You meet with people who say, I'm really burned out a lot. That's when you really don't enjoy what you're doing. It's very, very important that you enjoy what you do. You are very passionate about it. And people that you fit with you are equally passionate about what you do. So then it's not work. Then you're enjoying what you're doing anyways. So no matter how successful you are, you're still enjoying the ride.
Thank you. Okay.
I would say,
When you become executive vice president, when you become executive vice president, which you will, and someone comes into your position, what advice would you give them?
I think for I firmly believe everyone here in this room is a leader, right? And the thing is, you have to remain authentic. So in my mind, it is be authentic, right? So your authenticity is what's going to take you forward. Because when you have aspirations, you want to make sure that you imbibe all the good values and good all of the passion and then bring that forward. But your authenticity for who you are, what your core values are, what your inner calling, that is going to set you apart as a leader always. Because it's going to be, this individual is not someone who, there's no authenticity, and how you can be authentic to their core and remain authentic to that core will take you.
So what I'm learning from you guys is be true to yourself, love what you do, and think big. And there we have it. Ladies and gentlemen.
Question, what does that motivate you? The common theme seemed to be the betterment of society. Now, if you were President of the United States, what executive order or what changes would you make for the betterment of our
I
society?
think in one word I'd say respect diversity. Because, that's what America is about, right? It's beauty of the variety of cultures and experiences and everything that people, you've got to respect diversity and appreciate diversity.
I feel education is one area where I feel there's a lot of disparity. A lot of people have access to very good education, whereas people with less income have literally no access to quality education. And if you look at the statistics, if a person in jail, you spend many times more money on a person who's in jail than you spend on education. So if America can change one thing, that should be providing very quality education, relevant education to everybody, all Americans. I feel that the biggest change we can make.
I would say, and I'm a fan, of course, of President Obama, because I think he's done some very interesting things that most of the time go unrecognized. I think it's about inclusiveness, and many things I come across, I say sometimes come across as me promoting a sort of a socialist kind of an agenda, but I assure you that I'm a hardcore capitalist. I want to make money, and making money at the end of the day is an important byproduct of what we do. So, but at the same time, if you look at societies that have created inclusiveness, have created a sort of a social net to take care of the poorest of the poor, those societies have excelled. Labor unions had a real impact on this society. It's tough to ignore them at this stage, or it's easy to ignore and say, hey, that's the first thing we should get rid of. The reality is that you compare it to a country like India, and you still have widespread child labor, right? How many of us, when we go to India, have family members that have an 8, 10, 12-year-old girl working in their house? Can I have a show of hands? How many will admit to it, right? And it's shocking how common it is in that environment. So I think that inclusiveness, to make sure that everybody is part of the financial system, the educational system, is part of the technology network, is critical. And even in the US, 20% of the population doesn't use the internet. 60 million people in the US don't use the internet in this day and age. And if you look around in your social networks, do you know anybody that doesn't use the internet? My grandmother passed away a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. She was on Skype. She knew how to get hold of us on Skype before that from India. So I really believe that inclusiveness is.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I have just one small question. question, and I'm giving it over so any one of you can answer that. My question is that listening to you, reading about you is very inspiring and motivating. What I wanted to know is that how do you handle a failure? Like, how do you react to it? How do you respond to it when you want something really bad but it still work out?
That's a very good question, I think. And because I have dealt with failures, I will share with you my practical experience. So typically you want to take your mind off the failure. So first thing is to calm down. So whatever you like, where you feel relaxed, I like hiking. So I go to the hills, I forget, I said, I don't even want to think about work. Go for a hike in the morning. When I come back, I'm quite relaxed already. And many times while I'm coming back, I'm already thinking about, I've forgotten about the problem and thinking about the solutions. Just basically taking your mind off the failure to see what you learn from it and how do you use that lesson to improve in life. And then obviously reading books. You know, I like reading books. One of my latest favorite is Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I recently came across, because I went through another experience where I was really down, lost a big deal, and for a reason which I thought was very childish, and I felt very frustrated. I said, no, we have the best software, how could I lose this deal? How could we lose it? So it was totally driving me crazy, but I could hike that day. I was in New York. I said, today, what should I do? I bought that book on the airport, and by the time I landed in my next city, I was totally excited and we won that deal. So I think you have to figure out. So first you should know that failure happens to all of us. We have all failed in life, no matter whether we admit or not. I think how do you take it? How do you really stay focused, passionate, and how do you learn from it and convert that failure to success is the key to success.
My question is, how do you promote women in leadership positions in the companies that you
I can answer it because my women colleague is sitting right here. And I'll tell you how successful we have been because of good engineers. But I didn't know how to build a company, how do you create the culture, the things we were talking about, how do you have values in the company. So she worked for Sun Microsystems. We were friends, and she said, Jaspreet, the way you're running, you're just running a body shop. You don't know how to build a company. This is not how you build companies. So she brought that culture. She brought that dimension of the values, the culture, which I had no idea about. I was a good engineer, but had no idea how to build companies. So I think that's where I feel she has added probably the single most person who has added the most value to our company in our previous company, and she's part of this company. So we feel that you have to, one is women are as good as men, if not better. I think some ways you are much better than us. But secondly, I think that really engaging people based on their talent is what we should be doing. It should be, whether you have male, female, maybe I'm not being politically correct, but that's what I think. Ruby, do you want to add anything?
Enterprise and also at Versa Systems that we actually used to use it as a woman power, right? And just for the reason of that women were always in each century were looked at like women can't be as powerful as men are. So when we build Versa Systems and when we now at Alert Enterprise also, we as women, we kind of gang up on men and we say we can do better because we can multitask, we can do a lot of other things, we can raise kids, and along with that we can be a business advisors and powerful women. So it's just for the sake of, I think women have lived in the past era, we have just heard from our mothers and grandmothers like, oh, I'm a woman, that's why I can't do that. So I think today's woman can change that, and today's woman feel that that you are no less than men. You can do even better if you choose to be. And I think we are all blessed that we are in America, and this country has given us the opportunities. So I think we can do wonders if opportunities are there for us.
This question is for Sunit. Sorry to pick him out. You're a big proponent of revolutionary ideas, right? Thinking big. A question for you is, if you have a revolutionary idea and you're thinking big when the rest of the world is not thinking even minutely as close to you, which I guess you have done in the past, how do you check yourself? What anchors do you use to validate the revolutionary idea so that you don't run away with a fantasy and think something is big when it may not be.
So maybe the business world answer would be that it's the validation from the customer or something else or the investor and so on. To be honest, we've been stubborn enough to disregard the customer, disregard the investor, and just proceed with something that we were personally passionate about. And I don't know that I've got a good answer for your question, and the reason is that when the customer gave me feedback that I didn't like, I said, "You're the wrong customer." And when the investor, this is the truth, the Indian government bought a pilot, 100,000 units for us, gave them into IITs and some very high-end schools, and kids that had spent, those families had spent hundreds of thousands of rupees, and kids who had been on laptops since grade 6 and had had iPads for a few years were now given these $30 tablets and were asked for feedback. And I felt to my core that it was the wrong customer. The customer was, for me, the village school where 1 in every 3 days there's no teachers. Right? So it was that environment where there wasn't another option. For years we had difficulty raising funding. Every investor said, what a horrible business to be in. You are in hardware. You're not doing it here, you're doing it in the middle of India, of all places. I think to all those things, we were just so passionate about what we were doing that we justified it to ourselves. We said, hey, the most successful technology company in the world ever, is a company that took the business of technology away from the enterprise and gave it to the consumer, is Apple. So, and the fact that 4 billion people in the world don't use the internet. I was drinking Kool-Aid, maybe we were on a tangent, I don't know what the right check and balance is. But the fact that we were motivated to wake up every morning, to continue to do this, the fact that we as entrepreneurs were willing to mortgage our homes, and when you're in your mid-40s, and I'm sure many felt that we've gone crazy, but every morning the motivation was still there. Every morning that you want to go do this still existed against a lot of adversity. So I think it's okay. I'd say don't worry about the naysayers and really think outlandish. I get a chance to see some very interesting things that people can't imagine. I was having, I apologize if my answer is too long, I was having a discussion with somebody who's a family friend who's an accident claims lawyer, and he feels he's got accident claims is going to be a right business for the rest of his life. And I was telling him that accidents will go away, because I had been to the Bay Area and had an opportunity to spend 15 minutes inside a Google car. Okay, so when you spend 15 minutes on the streets of Palo Alto, where there's no steering wheel or brakes in this car, you start to realize that the world's about to change. And I think that the really outlandish ideas are worth pursuing. Look at the kind of ideas you get from Elon Musk and these kinds of things. I do, many of my talks, especially within SACC groups, I say, your sons and daughters of Shah Shanshah will win SACC. You're not average, you were never meant to be average. So why want to do a business that's going to be average? Why not do something that truly is earth-shattering? And I apologize if my answers come across as corny, but I truly do.
So before we move ahead with our recognition ceremony, I'd just like to quickly reiterate one of the core tenets of SACC, that is mentorship. Mentorship is at the heart of whatever we do. we want to ensure that we provide a platform to all our young community members to learn and be guided by industry leaders like these four gentlemen gracing the occasion. Continuing with that trend, we are very happy to announce that our panelists and the moderator has generously agreed to be a mentor within the SACC network. A lot of you in the room had submitted application for this purpose. We've done our best, that we could do, and we went through every application and play a matchmaker out here. So 4 of you out here have been selected to be a mentor to each of our panelists out here. I'd like to, I'd speak out your names and I'll request your presence on the stage so that you can come, shake hands with your mentor and get this connection started. So we have Amrit Raj Singh. Please come on stage. I'm very happy to let you know that you've been assigned Jasveer Gill as your mentor. Can we have Harsheen Kaur, a celebrity mentor with Jaswal? Can we have Alex Cardona on stage, please? Alex, you have Ravi Arora as your mentor. This shows we follow the Guru's teaching of Sarbat Dabhara. Great. And Jyotinder Singh. Can we have you? Suresh Singh for you. Thank you so much, and I'm sure you guys will benefit and take this mentorship connect a long way. Thank you so much. You guys can take your seats. So, another thing before I move with the plaque ceremony, we have our guest of honor out here who's gracing the occasion, Satinder Sartaj. I'm sure a lot of you know he's very famous Sufi singer, and we're truly thankful to him for being a part of the Leadership Summit. So he's here in US participating in a lot of shows, and he has one coming up this Sunday in Newark Symphony Hall. So if any one of you is interested, you can buy tickets and get in touch with us after the event. And now moving towards the recognition ceremony, that's almost like the last part of the event before we get the dinner for you. So I would like to invite my board and my team members one by one to present the plaques to these esteemed guests. Sanbir Singh Bittu Virji with us. He's one of our founder and board members out there. I'm sure you can see he's all round and drenched. So can you please present the plate to Ravi Arora? Here it is. Thank you so much, Ravi, for being a part of the summit. Your presence truly makes a lot of difference. And I'd like to invite Yadvinder Singh, another of our board of directors, to present the plate to Jasveer Gill. Thank you so much, Jasveer, for being here. Can I have one of my celebrity guests of honor to present a plate to another big celebrity present out here, Mr. Vip Jaswal, Sartaj Singh, Satinder Sartaj, I'm sorry. And can I have my great team members, Indi Samra, Harjeet Singh, and Kuldeep Singh, to present the plate to Suneet Singh Tulli. Okay, so thank you everyone for being a very great and patient audience. Before we move ahead for dinner, one of our very old and dear friend and volunteer, Harjeet Singh, just wants to share a couple of words with you. Yeah, you go ahead.
I want to personally thank all of you for being here. I know the weather was not kind to us today, but you still made it. So please give a round of applause to yourself. Thank you. As I said last year during our private equity venture capital and business owner event, that I'm not here to build another networking group. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to build success stories. I just started my enterprise 6 months ago and I'm growing. I want all of you to grow. I want all of you to network each other and bring more to this group. We are going to build this community together. And I see when I met a few of you in the beginning, like Preet Dhaliwal, she works for Ernst & Young. She said, I would love to help out, but I don't know how to. But now you know who to connect with. And few of you who are eager to help us. We need help. We need to grow, and we need to grow as a community. So please, thank you. Join our hands, and let's grow together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being a patient audience. Before we depart for dinner, I'd like to thank one of our sponsors, Malhotra Photo and Video, for taking up the photography and videography session out here, and all the media partners, and of course, all you wonderful audience. And if you have any questions or any thoughts, feel free to catch up any SACC representative here, and we would be happy to help you. Enjoy your dinner and have a great evening.
So I think this was a great event. The panel was very informative, and I think that they had a lot of insight into leadership, and they're very motivational. You know, there's a lot, even I'm in the banking industry, but there's still a lot that you can learn from entrepreneurs and from other business people. You know, trying to bring the community together and you know, working together to help each other grow is an important facet of, you know, of any business in any community. So you know, I'd like to learn more about everybody here and how I could potentially help them, or how they might even be able to help me.
So I'm here for the SACC Leadership Summit, and it's been an amazing opportunity to learn from our entrepreneurs and successful people from our community, helping us connect with themselves and with the community and learning from them. And I've been fortunate enough to be selected as a mentor from Mr. Tully, so I'm very excited and looking forward for that.
Thank you very much to the SACC. This is about the 4th event that I've attended, and I've received a lot of benefits, made a lot of connections. Thank you to Gandeep, my partner, and a few others that have directly contributed to my success and to that of our company by establishing a good network of individuals, great advice, and an amazing network. And just today I've been awarded actually a mentor that will help me grow my startup company, which has been in existence for 2 years now. And now that I'm looking forward to making the next big step, is where I can use the amazing benefit of an amazing network and a great mentor. Thank you very much, SACC.
I really want to take this opportunity to thank the SACC American Chamber of Commerce for hosting such a wonderful event, because today's, and just looking at the number of professionals and individuals that are here from a variety of businesses and professional affiliation, it demonstrates the power of networking and the power of connecting with people to help each other within the community. So I think on that aspect, the SACC American Chamber of Commerce is doing a phenomenal job, hosting forums like this and bringing individuals together, so that way collectively we can do better than the power of one. So this is a true delight for me to be here.
So it's fantastic to be here at the SACC Leadership Summit hosted by the SACC American Chamber of Commerce with some amazing panelists. Honored to be included in that group, and this fantastic group of entrepreneurs with all their tough questions. I think that both the SACC community and young entrepreneurs need these opportunities to network and take advantage of people with a lot of experience. So it's both a learning experience for me and enlightening to be part of this group.